Salutations. It's been a while. Let's talk about what I call VRST, Virtual Reality Scenario Technology. Let's talk about VRST in the experiencer slash contactee slash abductee phenomenon. Alright? What we have as a problem is that a lot of times we have beings from a type 1 or type 2 civilization that are exposing us to this holographic projectors, hypnotic suggestion, and virtual reality scenario technology. They're showing up as sometimes dead husbands, dead relatives during the abductee phenomenon, okay, or seeing people you might know, or even showing up as religious figures you're seeing on these ships. That's very common. So that's part of this abduction experiencer phenomenon, is the VRST that isn't addressed or not. Somebody that kind of led me to this was Dr. Carla Turner. All right, she dealt with a lot on that in her books that you just saw. Fringe is one, Masquerading Angels, and Taken. They all kind of deal with this virtual reality scenario aspect. All right, so I advise anybody to kind of check that out. What I wanted to do is kind of tie this together with one of my own personal experiences, all right, which would be my second physical experience involving what I call adult onset experiences involving missing time. All right, this would be the second time this happened in my adult years. Somebody else was with me. They too was missing the time, and it was very much disconcerting. Anyway, what I wanted to do, so I wanted to find out, had I personally ever been exposed to VRST? I felt that I had, but I wanted to know the origin of it and what exactly it was. So I went and actually got a hypnotic regression done specifically to see if I'd had any type of government action or any type of thing I was unaware of, or any screen memories that was produced by this virtual reality scenario technology. And what came out of it was actually my second experience concerning missing time in adult years. All right, and what we're going to do is go over a couple of pictures illustrated by Christine Dennett, who's been very good to me. All right, and we're going to go over the aspects of this one experience and tie it into the virtual reality scenario technology aspect of the UFO experience, contactee experience. Thank you. Greetings. All right, first of all, I want to make this clear. I didn't mention before, this was a pure conscious craft, is what you would call this. All right, when I first had gotten, after this ship followed us out to the spot we were at, and then we started kind of phasing out there, the ship kind of seemed to materialize around us, is what it used to kind of take us on board. But the first thing I was exposed to, all right, this is supposed to be me, done by Kasara once again. This, as they called it, was a synaptic helmet. All right, and this is supposed to be me. There was a separate apparatus that was a type of a breathing module that came from a different place, and that's to help, because I've described before the mist in there and how hard it is to breathe. Okay, and reality, maybe these nodules were a little bigger. There was only a few of them, but nonetheless, it was too big for my head, and they had told me that this was a synaptic helmet that would give me a frame of reference for communication during this encounter. And I know why they said that, because a lot of these rooms appear to be moving around me, okay, and you're materializing into rooms, and it makes you very, very sick. Okay, so this is, they also immediately told me that this same technique had been corrupted by dark forces. So once again, this is the synaptic helmet, which aided me in having communication during this experience on board a pure conscious craft. All right, I think that describes it fairly well. There's another picture that I'm going to show with my friend Peter Maxwell Slattery. I had showed this for the first time at the Assetti Ranch during my presentation, and actually Peter did a workshop later in Yelm about a few days later, and came in contact with a quiche device, a plasma device that has a similar configuration to this. It really blew us away, and I'll show a picture of that also at the beginning. You've already seen that. So thank you very much. Okay, this one is the same experience, all right? This is the same craft, and what I call this is kind of a control room, or perhaps a bridge, all right? It was very hard to even begin to describe this for Christine to illustrate, all right? Excuse me. In this room, there was a type of a beam that went from the ground to the top, all right? Kind of crystalline in a way, and there were what I would call micro wormholes, all right, everywhere in this room. There was probably 30 of them, and they were unstable. These micro wormholes are opening and closing within just probably a couple of seconds of each other, but they're popping up everywhere in this room. During this time, I have a being, an entity jumps in my field of awareness onto the floor. And when it jumps onto the floor here, at first it looks like a more spherical light, plasma maybe, and then it starts unfolding, all right, into a pattern that looked quite similar to a sunflower. Then it jumped up and went into one of these micro wormholes and then materialized back out of another one within seconds, all right? And this is a system here where I think they're going to our dimension and then coming back. They're like fish out of water outside of these ships, some of them, because these are beings that have a completely different configuration to house their awareness, to house their consciousness. It comes down to what all types of containers do we have for consciousness. So this is the bridge, I would call it, control room. It's just not the way we would think of it. Many micro wormholes jumping all around, some weird symbols kind of materializing at times. So this is this control room of this pure consciousness ship. Thank you. Okay, this is the third room I was in on board this pure consciousness craft. Now I've shown this picture one other time, all right? This room seemed more organic in nature. You had stalagmites coming down, all right, which were a little more even organic, and attached to those were these honeycomb looking figures or configurations that were actually morphing, which is kind of hard for her to show here, but these were morphing, and you see the golden energy. I want to comment on this again, as I've shown you an engine on another video here that has the same golden energy that it's generating, okay? Even the honeycomb structure. All right, this is the third room on board this pure conscious craft. I've shown this sketch one other time, all right? It was organic. This room was organic. It appeared to be like a cave that had stalagmites coming down, okay? And on the end of those were these golden honeycomb looking structures. You'll recognize this again. I've shown this structure before on another video concerning an engine, all right? The gyrospheric engine, all right? This golden ball, they were kind of morphing, all right? It's hard for her to kind of show that, but they were morphing, and this is called AGLE, angelic golden liquid energy. That's what they call it, the living light, all right? These honeycombs would start kind of moving and morphing, and then there'd be like a band of light around them, and what emerged from them would be one of these light beings in a form that's almost humanoid. And to be quite honest, these look to me a lot like the beings on the movie Cocoon. How they kind of, when they dropped their skin, they were light beings. Okay, so this is once again on this pure conscious ship. I kind of materialized into this room. Makes you very sick, very hard to breathe in there, despite the contraption of a synaptic helmet I was given, which was no longer on me when I went to other rooms, all right? So once again, this is like this cave on board. It's organic on board this pure conscious craft. Thank you. In conclusion, about virtual reality scenario technology, VRST, all right? We know that some of this technology has been back engineered by people, so that's being used to deceive people. A lot of the holographic principle, holographic projectors, that's being used against people in both the abduction scenario and in some possible Big Brother encounters, all right? So we want to kind of take that into account of the way people are being deceived with this technology. All right, and let's take it a step forward to the fact that we have many beings that are capable of projecting energy and projecting imagery into our minds. All right, that is the first way of mimicry. We talked about mimicry on another video, all right, about 2 months ago. This ties into virtual reality scenario technology, into the holographic principle, but that is also a spiritual gift that some beings have. Just like there's some of these beings you can encounter, and when you're not in face-to-face contact with them, it's hard to remember what they look like. You just know you were in the presence of some type of an entity. All right, so let's just take those things into account when we're talking about the abduction scenario, the experiencer scenario, the contactee scenario is virtual reality scenario technology. Thank you very much for listening and looking at the illustrations. I want to thank Christine Dennett for doing that, my friend PC here for being very patient and filming this for me. So God bless.